Welcome back. Part two of hopefully several more parts of Q&A. Three more questions. Let's get right to it. Question number one, how do I clean my vibrometer? We have done a dedicated video on this as well, but in short, be very careful. Um, you want to use lint-free cloth if you're wiping something. You can use denatured alcohol as well. But again, do not spray or splatter directly on the optical components. Take it on a lint-free cloth and then just gently wipe it. Q-tips also work very well, especially with the scanning systems and the mirrors. But be very gentle. If in doubt, do not do anything or call us. It's not it's not super difficult, but we can definitely help you there. In general, whatever you use to, like a lens cleaner, eyewear, cleaner type lens cloths, work just fine to clean the lens and the optical components. So it's fairly, robust in a way, but yeah, just be gentle with your vibrometer. Treat it like any other optical system. If you have a nice camera, how you treat that camera is how you would want to treat the optical surfaces of a vibrometer. Question number two, how do I get access to a vibrometer? I guess this question came from the fact that there are customers who do not need a vibrometer on a daily basis, or they have very specific needs that do not require, a system. They may own a system, but they need something a little upgraded, but they don't need it all the time. So in short, there are three different ways of accessing a vibrometer. Of course, buying one, that's fairly straightforward to understand. There's also a rental program, so you can rent this for a day, for a month, for a week, whatever is your need. And then, for infrequent users, that's a very good model, especially if you are familiar with how to use it. Single point vibrometer is no big deal. We don't need any training as such. Scanning vibrometers, maybe a day of training when you rent it is more than sufficient. The third option, so you got systems, just purchase, rental, and the third option is what we call engineering services or testing services, where our applications engineer joins the vibrometer and comes to you, or you come to us, use one of our labs, and we do the measurements for you. So here there is no learning curve, there is no personnel required. You just tell us what you need to measure, and it's our job to give you high fidelity data. So these are the three options when it comes to accessing a vibrometer for your needs. And frankly, that holds true for not only vibrometers, but also surface metrology tools and everything else that Polytech offers. Last question for today, what is covered under system recalibration? More than 80% of the systems out there are under calibration, meaning we are seeing the system at least every other year, and they are being taken care of by us. Now, what does a recalibration mean, or what does it include? So the way I break it down is, and that's my inefficiency with using this marker tool, is I like to break it down as electrical. That's component one. Then you got optical. That's component two. And then the third is a mechanical end test is what we call it. So just a couple of words on each of this. I think my daughter has better handwriting than me. The electrical is where we take the electronics components, so like a front end or a controller or a connect in terms of vibroflex. We take that system, we inject an artificially created a synthetic signal which is pure, so we know exactly what the frequency and the amplitude of that signal is, and then we read the output at the BNC out to see how well or how accurately it is demodulating, basically reading that value, because that's what you're going to be using, that BNC out. So we, instead of using some mechanical system like a shaker, which has its own tolerances, which are nowhere close to what a vibrometer does, we use the synthetic signal, which is as pure as it can be, and compare the output at the BNC with this synthetic signal, and see if the outputs, the accuracy is within the tolerances. If not, then we make the necessary adjustments inside the controller unit. So that's the electrical calibration. That's step one. Optical. What falls under optical is basically optical alignment. We open up the interferometer side of things. We do all the cleanup of the optical components, the beam splitters and such inside the vibrometer. We check the health of the laser tube or the laser source, basically, depending on the system we are using, and make recommendations if it needs changing, or give you some indication of the health of the laser source. And so that's the optical side, where we kind of open up the vibrometer. And as an end test, we combine the sensor and the controller and do an actual shaker test, where we use a shaker at a set frequency and amplitude, and then do a mechanical end test. Yes, it's not going to be at the same level of accuracy as the electrical, but it gives a good sense of sort of closure in terms of having that sanity check with the mechanical end test. So these are the three components. This is what's covered under recalibration. A fourth component could be if you have a data acquisition system as well, like the data management system with our scanning vibrometers, then that also is done as a fourth step. So these are the three questions for today. Stay tuned. There'll be many more. As I mentioned in my previous video, I have some more questions that I would like to cover here as well. Thank you so much for your time.